All right, it's not going anywhere. Go ahead. So soft. Oh, sweet mother. Sorry. Oh, I didn't know you were real. I'm George Crabtree. What's your name? Yeah. Yes, very good. Attention all. Proceed to your seats. The great Captain Joseph Bernier is about to take the stage for today's lecture.
Where the Swedes and the Yankees have failed, I shall succeed. Where some
I'm sorry, these seats are taken.
I shall make my mark. A mark for Canada. I will be the first man to set foot on the North Pole. Thank you.
Did we miss much, George? Just the exhibition part, sir, and a chunk of the lecture. I see you brought your own roll.
We're determined to live our lives as we otherwise would. Modern parents in a modern age.
Purchase a new ship. And I ask that you consider contributing to this daring effort as well.
Shall we make a small contribution?
If you like.
That way, Roland will grow up in a Canada whose boundaries extend all the way to the North Pole.
The heart and soul of any expedition starts with her crew. And I have the best in the world. The CGS Arctic, the best vessel money can buy. Her first journey will test her resolve as much as...
Sorry. He's becoming restless. I should walk him around outside.
Julia, I can take him.
No, William, stay. I'll be fine.
You know them? Taught us how to use them for ice travel. Mr. Blair? Take that off! Take that off! Oh, I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize for that fright. No, another slide, Mr. Blair, please. What are you doing, Blair? Mais qu'est-ce que vous faites? Vous voulez bousiller ma présentation, c'est ça? I'm talking about the future of Canada. Est-ce que vous comprenez? L'avenir du Canada!
Sir, is this some kind of presentation?
What does that mean?
I really don't think so, George.
Can't you see this? Someone is trying to sabotage my grand expedition.
Well, that may be so.
They want my funding withdrawn, my ship taken away. To put an end to this, the fate of Canada is at stake.
Mr. Bernier, you yourself admit the man died in your charge.
Men die all the time on such expeditions. Entire crews perish. Do you know of Sir John Franklin's journey?
Of course. Yet, in this case, someone believes you personally responsible.
Sotties.
Before I investigate the sabotage of your presentation, I must first determine the validity of their claims.
Comment osez-vous insinuer une chose pareille? Vous êtes idiot ou quoi?
Le plus tôt que vous coopérez avec cet idiot, Monsieur Bernier, le plus tôt que vous serez lavé de tout soupçon.
Well, maybe you'd care to see the body.
You have the body.
Yeah, of the local funeral home.
I understand you're a member of Captain Bernier's crew.
Yes. And this photographer also took some moving pictures of this most recent expedition.
The ones in the Nickelodeon here.
Yes.
I quite like that.
Thank you.
Did you take the photograph of the dead man?
Shortly after the body was found.
And as projections to this slideshow, I'm assuming you arranged the photographs.
Yes. But I surely did not put in the ones accusing Captain Bernier of murder.
His name was Arthur Pimblett. A dear friend who was at my side in all my expeditions. A man of science and nature. He served as my navigator or doctor. I'll miss him.
How did he die?
Whenever the ship was stationary, Arthur explored surrounding areas. He dreamed of discovering new species of wildlife, you know. But he never returned from that fateful walk.
He got lost.
Yeah. Maybe he suffered from snow blindness and froze to death.
How long after his disappearance was he found?
4 days. The search cost me valuable time. I had to turn back or risk running out of provisions.
I'm told you have the body.
Yes,
There you go.
such as it is.
Decomposition must be quite advanced at this point.
Arthur died 3 months ago. I preserved him the best I could using salt. But I'm afraid he's not cutting as fine a figure as he once did.
Well, I eagerly await his arrival at the city morgue. Gentlemen?
Bye. Well, I do hope she's a better coroner than she is a mother.
I beg your pardon?
She hardly knows how to hold a baby.
Oh, well,
Oh. Not fit for motherhood, anyway. Too skinny.
Monsieur Bernier,
My wife has meat on the bones. I'd like to know she'd survive an angry winter while I'm away.
Monsieur Bernier, the coroner is my wife.
Oh. To each his own.
Who might wish to suggest that Mr. Pimblett's death was your doing?
Who else? The Swedes. Bjorn Norden's cold. He wants nothing more than to beat me to the North Pole. That's why he's in Toronto.
I see your slideshow did not go so well, Mr. Bernier. I hope you don't lose your ship.
What of sending your men to the North Pole in a hydrogen balloon? It was 6 years ago and still no return. Can we assume that was a failure?
Va comment upslå idiotski kanadenska.
C'est le plus grand explorateur au monde. J'aviez pas d'affaire à vous montrer la face de ma présentation.
Comme le fait!
Le pôle Nord appartient au Canada.
I see.
Decomposition was indeed advanced. Coupled with the salt used to preserve it, the body became dry and shriveled, mummified, if you will.
I see you've given him a bath.
I'm hoping this sodium hydroxide mixture will rehydrate the body near to its original form.
Very resourceful, Julia. Have you tried this before?
No. But if it works, I should be able to provide a more complete picture of the circumstances he died under.
Well then, I shall await the results of Mr. Pimblett's bath.
Or I could tell you the cause of death right now.
You can?
He may well have wandered off the ship, as Mr. Bernier claims, but I don't believe hypothermia killed him. He was throttled, William. My preliminary examination revealed fractures of the hyoid bone and surrounding cartilage.
Strangled? By ligature or manually?
I can't say. There's too much discoloration of the skin to discern bruising patterns.
Either way, this man's death was no accident.
I tried to keep him away. It's not your fault, Miss James. The detective and I were distracted.
If you don't mind my saying, perhaps the morgue isn't the safest place for a baby.
You should take him for a while I continue here.
Strangled? But we said it's impossible.
Arthur Pimblett was murdered, Captain Bernier, I'm afraid to say.
You claim to have no knowledge of this?
I won't dignify such a question.
Why don't you elaborate on the circumstances surrounding his disappearance, Captain?
Like I mentioned, Arthur went on a walk and never came back. My crew fanned out looking for him, but it was too late.
Who found him?
An Inuit crew member, Murdoch, carried him 3 miles back to the boat.
Would he have any reason to want Mr. Pimblett dead?
Oh, heavens, no. Arthur was closer to Murdoch than any of us. It was Arthur's idea to assimilate an Inuit into a crew.
You're from Quebec, Captain. What brings you to Toronto?
This is where Arthur was born and deserved to be buried. And I also hope to find his replacement here.
All the while asking the public to fund your next expedition.
Well, Captain, if we have any further questions...
Oh, of course. Of course, Inspector. If I had any involvement in Arthur's murder, do you think I would have volunteered his body to you?
Well, you did express a lack of confidence in our coroner's abilities.
Well, thank you, Captain. Now, I'll show you out. You seem to have a bee in your bonnet about the captain.
And you seem to quite like him, sir, which I find surprising given how you feel about Frenchmen.
Yes, well, he's not a Frenchman. He's a Canadian Frenchman. And if he claims the North Pole for Canada, he's also claiming it for the British Empire.
Right.
Oh, bloody hell, Murdoch. Give it here. Come on, Roland, little fella. Oh! You not heard of a nanny, Murdoch? Oh, get him on your knee and bounce him.
That's working, sir.
Yes. Right. I'll get Crabtree to interview Bernier's crew. See if he can corroborate his story.
I can't go anywhere, sir, or do anything. Just this.
Welcome to fatherhood, Murdoch.
Strangled? Who would do such a thing?
That's exactly what we're trying to ascertain, Mr. Phillips. What exactly was your duty on Captain Bernier's expedition?
Third officer, technically. Though, of course, I'm much more than that.
How so?
Captain's protege. I'm being groomed as his successor. In me, he sees the same qualities that made him a captain by the age of 20. I'll have my own ship before long.
Best of luck with that.
I certainly won't be under someone else's command in my 30s.
No, heaven forbid. Can you explain to me the circumstances around Mr. Pemble's death?
Derek Fruin, first officer of the CGS Arctic. What's going on here?
Well, perhaps you could help.
He said Arthur was strangled to death.
That can't be. He froze to death. Munich found his body 4 days later, returned it to the ship.
Bernier yelled at him when he did. Not sure what for, but it was damn funny.
Captain Bernier was very upset over the death of his dear friend.
Thank you, gentlemen. Mr. Nunick, may I have a word?
Yes, I am Nuna.
Well, I understand that you discovered Mr. Pembroke's body and brought it back to the ship.
Yes, sad day.
And that when you arrived back at the ship, Captain Bernier yelled at you. Can you tell me why?
They say Arthur not have gloves on, but Arthur always wear gloves when exploring off ship.
What exactly did he yell at you?
He say not my concern.
Right. Well, thank you, Mr. Nunick.
Just Nuna, no mister.
Nunick. Are you enjoying Toronto, Nunick?
Yes, my people would not believe.
Oh, I dare say. It's a city of almost 250,000 people. I should show you around.
Vast improvement. I wish Roland took to baths with such ease.
He puts up a fuss?
Always. Then maybe I'm not doing it right. I question how well suited I am to the tasks of motherhood.
Oh, well...
Miss James,
maybe...
come look at this.
Sure, the crew seemed genuinely surprised to hear that he'd been strangled, but I still have the sense they're hiding something.
Did you speak with the Inuit fellow who found the body?
Yes, Nunick. Actually, he mentioned that when he happened upon the body, Pembroke was without gloves, which obviously was unusual due to the cold weather.
As if he had been forced off the ship against his will. Did Mr. Nunick...
Just Nunick, sir. No, Mr.
Did Nunick report the inconsistency to Captain Bernier?
He did, sir, and apparently Captain Bernier tore a strip off him for making mention of it.
William, you'll not leave.
We're trying to get him to sleep, Julia.
I'm sorry.
Oh, it's all right. It's all right.
When I took Mr. Pimblett...
There's no point whispering now, Doctor.
Right.
You were saying, Julia?
The benefits of the bath revealed Mr. Pimblett had a shackle around his right ankle.
He was in prison before his death?
Only one person would have authority to do such a thing. Captain Bernier.
Mr. Pimblett had been shackled. Our coroner found evidence of it. And just what did he do to warrant imprisonment?
Poor Arthur had gone mad. I was forced to confine my best friend in his room for his own safety and that of my crew. He was mad.
Well, then how is it he came to be 3 miles away from your ship?
He escaped. I shackled him to a pipe, but he broke it and ran off. Lord knows what he was thinking.
What was he doing? I mean, how did this madness manifest itself?
It was delusional. Even thought we were in the Pacific Ocean. Drawing maps and babbling on about Pacific salmon.
Pacific salmon?
Well, I'm telling you, he was deranged, obsessed by the fish.
Why did you keep this from us?
To preserve his name, sir. I'm sorry not to tell you before.
Are you now prepared to tell us who strangled him?
I don't know nothing about it. I swear to you, Detective. I can only imagine that in his crazed state, he wandered into a hostile Inuit community.
You're suggesting that Mr. Pemblet was killed by Inuit?
Oh, wouldn't be the first time, sir.
Sir, I'm to speak with Murdoch this evening. I'll ask him the likelihood that Pemblet was killed by Inuit.
Or Murdoch himself, George.
We're very lucky to get a table at this restaurant. I mean, it's very popular, and as you can see, very expensive. Very sorry, please. Excuse me.
I'm Murdoch.
No. Please pardon my friend. He's not accustomed to our customs.
Here. Sir? In my culture, we share everything. My food is yours. Your food, mine. In the beginning, it was not mine or ours. And today, it is not.
I like the sound of that. In some ways, that's more civilized than our society. Sometimes it feels like everybody's falling over one another for a bigger piece of the pie. Shameful, really.
We are happy people.
Speaking of which, Murdoch, do you think it's possible that Mr. Pemblet happened upon an Inuit tribe and, for whatever reason, met his end that way?
No.
I suppose you have no such thing as murder in your culture either.
No, we do. But there are no Inuit communities near where I found Arthur. Impossible. Either white man from ship kill him or Kalupalik.
Kalupalik?
Pardon us. Oh, we were wondering what Murdoch means.
Close your eyes. That's what Murdoch means.
Join us, why don't you? Please, have a seat.
Yeah.
There you go. You as well, of course. Waiter, we'll have another round. Here we are. I am Crabtree. I am Murdoch. Murdoch, somebody should make a moving picture of your time here. Like the Arctic Nickelodeon, but here.
Murdoch of Toronto.
Murdoch of Toronto. Oh, quiet yourself. Murdoch, I do have one serious question. Did you kill Arthur Pemblet?
No, we were friends. We talk about fish. He drawing journal. Salmon.
He had a journal? Can I see it?
No. Journal go missing after he died.
Did you see salmon?
Oh, how lovely. His brain came out quite neatly. It'll make for a most satisfying dissection. Now, the honor of cutting the first slice is yours, Miss James.
I don't think I can, Dr. Ogden.
Why not?
I might become sick on the subject.
You'll get over it. Now come, get your hands dirty. We need to determine whether a tumor was the cause of Mr. Pimblett's supposed insanity.
After you, Captain.
The Eskimo said that Mr. Pimblett's journal disappeared after he died. Do you know where we might find it?
No. But why would anyone want that?
We don't know, but the fact that it's missing may have to do with his murder.
I doubt that. It was just drawings of fish and random dates that only he understood, but mostly fish. I'm telling you, he was totally insane.
Yes, he was insane, but we only have your word for that.
Unfortunately, our coroner didn't find anything in his brain to explain his insanity.
Ask my crew. They will tell you the same.
Our constable is doing that now, but I suspect they'll only tell us what you want them to tell us.
What does it matter, anyway? Now that my reputation is unfairly tarnished with Arthur's blood, I'll never raise enough money to get to the pole. Nor will I find his replacement. Arthur was truly one of a kind, you know.
Gentlemen?
Don't lose faith, Captain. If the Swedes do take the pole, before you know it, they'll be marching south wanting more.
I can't allow that.
That's why you need to be forthright with us. The sooner we get this settled, the sooner you'll be back on the ship.
You get my word, Inspector.
Then I wish you good luck for your lecture.
Thank you. Oh, maybe you'd care to make a contribution yourself?
What do I get in return?
How do you mean?
Well, I'd be more inclined to donate if I got something for it. Say, a jar of Arctic ice from the pole. I'd pay $10 for that.
The crew was reluctant, sir, but they eventually conceded that during the expedition, Pimblett went insane.
Anything else, George?
Well, sir, the photographer, Mr. Blair, he claims that Pimblett was already insane, or eccentric at the very least.
How so?
Well, he claims that just prior to the last expedition, Pimblett adopted a vegetarian diet and tried to subsist the whole time on canned vegetables.
Well, unwise, perhaps, but far from convincing me the man was insane.
Also, sir, the crew says that he'd become obsessed with salmon, even though he never ate it. He was continuously sketching salmon.
Yes, I've heard all about the salmon.
Well, if he did go a bit doolally, it at least explains him being miles away from the ship with no gloves on.
Well, insane or otherwise, we still don't know who strangled him, or why.
Especially if we take Nonique's word that there were no Inuit nearby.
Sirs, there is another explanation. Kalupalik. Now, in Inuit lore... Sir, in Inuit lore, Kalupalik is a human-like creature, and he crawls out of the sea with long, stringy hair and sharp fingernails and webbed hands and a greenish hue to his skin. And he wears a pouch, sirs, and he takes his victims and stuffs them in his pouch, and he carries them... Oh, never mind.
Never mind what?
Never mind. I just remember we still have Mr. Pemblett's body is where Kalupalik carries his victims down beneath the ocean forever.
After the brain dissection failed to reveal any abnormalities, we conducted blood tests which showed high levels of lead.
Lead?
Further examination of the diver's tibia revealed dense metaphyseal lines, a classic symptom of lead poisoning.
I see.
Other symptoms include delirium, cognitive deficits, and even hallucinations.
Well, then I suppose Captain Bernier was telling the truth after all.
Lead poisoning is often the result of exposure to contaminated soil or water. It seems unusual that he would be the only crew member to suffer.
He had adopted a vegetarian diet, brought all of his own canned food aboard. Perhaps the tins were contaminated?
If he was the only one to eat from them, that would explain it.
Well then, thank you, Miss James, Dr. Ogden, young Master Murdoch.
I do think motherhood suits you just fine, Dr. Ogden.
Our fearless Prime Minister has already contributed $200,000, but it's not enough. I ask that you consider contributing for that most daring effort. But I'm not looking for a handout, my fellow Canadians. In return for your contribution, you will receive a priceless token of appreciation. For $10, I'll bring back a jar of genuine Arctic water direct from the pole.
That was my idea.
Oh, very enterprising, sir.
For $500, you may become member of the crew of the CGS Arctic. Safe return not guaranteed.
500. Margaret may have that in a cookie jar.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. The rest is yours.
Oh, Mr. Fruin, a word, please.
I'm quite busy, Detective. The captain needs all hands on deck.
Just why did Captain Bernier insist on confining Mr. Pimblett? What threat did he pose exactly?
Oh, I suppose Mr. Pimblett had become capricious, aggressive even.
Toward Captain Bernier?
Yes. In fact, he was so rife with madness, he tried to start a mutiny.
Mutiny? Why?
He became convinced that the captain was leading us to death.
Did this mutiny gain any support?
With some of the more impressionable crew, yes. But thankfully, the captain quashed the mutiny after Mr. Pimblett's death and fired those that betrayed him. Serves them right.
Mr. Fruin, come and help.
Excuse me, gentlemen. Don't speak to your superiors like that, Mr. Phillips. I am first officer. You are merely third officer.
Oh, Simon, help me, you fool.
Mutiny, sir. Gives Captain Bernier motive.
Mr. Pimblett must have discovered something that threatened Captain Bernier's future expeditions, including his attempt at the North Pole. Arthur Pimblett started a mutiny. That's why you shackled him, isn't it?
I shackled him because he was mad.
But he also started a mutiny.
Yes. Obviously out of madness.
But he was gaining support with some of the crew members. Perhaps that's why his journal went missing. It had details of the mutiny which you wanted to keep a secret.
What are you suggesting?
That your friend had become a threat to the expedition and to future ones. That he believed that you were leading your men to their death. And if word of that got out, the Canadian government may reconsider giving you a ship.
So, you think I killed my best friend?
It would have been easy for you to strangle him while he was shackled and make it appear as though he wandered off to freeze to death.
That's quite an accusation, Detective.
It would also explain why Mr. Pimblett was found without gloves on, and why you yelled at Nunick for mentioning it.
I'm very hurt. All I wanted was to keep Arthur's madness a secret. And now I'm being accused of his murder?
Captain Bernier, did you murder Arthur Pimblett?
I will say no more.
Well, if there is evidence, I will find it. In the meantime, I'll be holding you in our cells.
If he did it, why would he bring the body all the way back and hand it to us?
A guilty conscience, perhaps? What we do know of Bernier is that he ruled his ship unconditionally and was one of few who had access.
Pimblett had lead poisoning. He was a crackpot. How much of a threat could he have been?
Sir, any threat at all gives the captain motive.
Until he starts telling the truth, I recommend we hold him.
Even if it means Canada won't be the first of the North Pole?
Sirs, Canada may yet still be the first. I've just been to the exhibition. Mr. Phillips has been named captain in Bernier's absence.
The third officer? That was bloody quick.
He's very young, sir, but he's very ambitious, and he's said to be very talented, something of a prodigy.
On whose authority?
The government of Canada, sir. It's their ship, after all. He convinced them he was up to the task.
I'm surprised the expedition wasn't scrapped altogether. Bernier is the world authority on the Arctic. Without him, he's doomed.
Maybe so. But this promotion gives Mr. Phillips motive.
Sir. Mr. Blair. We're looking for Mr. Phillips.
You won't find him here. He's out celebrating his promotion.
Are you planning on leaving Toronto?
No, I live here. But I am leaving the employ of the CGS Arctic now that Phillips is captain.
Why?
For all his talent, he's inexperienced and far too ambitious. He may get them to the pole, but I doubt if they make it back.
Why do you say that?
When Captain Bernier cut the last expedition short, after Pimbley's death, Phillips nearly convinced him to press on. I am not about to risk my life for the glory of someone who has little or no regard for their crew's safety.
Thank you, Mr. Blair.
Mr. Blair, is that the moving picture camera you used to make the Nickelodeons?
Yes. Why do you ask?
This will be an excellent Nickelodeon. Nunuk of the North visits Toronto. I've got that. The kick.
Have you two retired?
What's this? This eventually will be my Nickelodeon, sir. Although I have lost my subject.
Have you not got work to do?
George insists that this is work.
Coming up here, sirs. Right there.
Isn't that Mr. Nordenskjold? Dining with Mr. Phillips?
Just last night, sir.
Canada's new captain dining with our chief rival. Bloody Swedes.
Good work, George. Congratulations on your promotion, Captain Phillips.
Thank you.
How did you celebrate?
I enjoyed dinner with friends.
These friends? Just what were you doing having dinner with high-ranking Swedes when you're to be captain of a government-sanctioned Canadian expedition?
They wanted to speak with me.
What about?
To see whether I may captain their ship to the North Pole.
Don't they have captains of their own?
Yes, but Captain Bernier is the best in the world. And as his protege, I am the next best thing.
What did you say?
That I would consider it. Though I doubt they could outfit a finer vessel than the CGS Arctic anyway.
You would betray your country?
I only care about being the first man to the North Pole. Whether it's under the flag of Canada or Sweden, I see them only as sponsors.
That traitor should bloody hang.
Maybe so, yet no law has been broken.
We'll see about that. I sent Crabtree to search his room while you were interviewing him.
And it's true that he's one of the few who could have stolen the negatives leading up to the show.
And now he's leveraging his newfound position to solicit offers from the Swedes.
Unless, sir, he's been working with the Swedes the entire time. Mr. Pimblett caught on to him, and that's why he was killed.
Phillips then tries to pin it on a captain and take his ship.
Sirs, I found Pemblett's missing journal in Mr. Phillips' room.
Arrest him, George. Mais en tout cas, nous sommes ici.
What's going on?
Sir, Mr. Pimblett wasn't insane. Well, he was insane, but he made a brilliant discovery.
A discovery that I dismissed. Well, what is it?
A yet-to-be-attempted route to the North Pole.
Daring in scope, but brilliant in its simplicity.
Every explorer has attempted to reach the North Pole from the east. But by studying carefully the weather patterns and natural currents, Mr. Pimblett suggested that one could reach the North Pole from the west, through the Bering Strait.
Well, what's so brilliant about that?
This was long thought to be impossible. The distance from the nearest point of land is much further.
He theorized that if you left at the exact right time from the west and allowed the ship to become locked in ice, the weather patterns and ocean currents would carry you right to the North Pole.
That sounds crackers.
Exactly.
But it's brilliant. His theory was validated when he discovered salmon, Pacific salmon, locked in ice in the East Arctic, just as a ship would be were it to be locked in ice, having left from the west.
But the final map detailing how to accomplish this is missing.
It's been torn out of the journal.
That bloody weasel Phillips must have it.
I didn't steal the journal. I don't know how it wound up in my room.
Where's the map?
What map?
The map detailing how to get to the North Pole from the west.
The West? I don't have such a map. Although the Swedes did mention something about a new route.
What did they say?
They were vague, but they mentioned something about a new route to the pole from the west. I thought they were insane as Pimblett.
My protege. Shame on you for talking to the Swedes.
So the Swedes approach you with this information, not the other way around?
And then the Swedes must have the map.
How did they get it?
Someone from your crew came across Mr. Pimblett's diary, murdered him for it, and sold the map to the Swedes. I'm afraid one of your men is working for them.
A traitor? In my midst? But why would the Swedes turn around and approach Phillips to be their captain?
In addition to gaining a captain, they would be leaving Canada without one.
And the traitor must be a crew member here in Toronto to have sabotaged my slideshow as well.
What's that, Crabtree?
Oh, sorry, sir, it's my Nickelodeon. I'm just finishing it up.
Even though Nunik abandoned you?
I wouldn't say he abandoned me, sir. We're just not spending as much time together lately.
I hear he's quite the man about town.
It's true, sir. Well, I'm glad. I'm glad he's meeting new people in Toronto. Well, heaven knows where he's been sleeping. Nunik! There you are. I've been worried about you.
Can I come back to your home to stay?
Oh, yes, of course.
I miss home. I want to go back. But I don't trust the new captain. Can we make safe journey?
The new captain, Mr. Phillips, he's in our jail cells.
No. Derek Fruin is the new captain now.
The first officer? Fruin has been made the new captain of the CGS Arctic.
Ridiculous. Fruin is a reliable first mate, but a hopeless leader.
Doesn't mean he doesn't have ambitions for more.
Fruin is the traitor. Betrayed by my own first mate.
Let's say he came across Mr. Pimblett's journal. He recognized its value and murdered him for it. By pinning the murder on you, he would be eliminating all of Sweden's competition.
Then he shares Pimblett's western route with the Swedes.
But when Mr. Phillips became captain, Mr. Fruin felt passed over. So he attempted to frame him by placing the journal in his room.
And according to Nunnik, Fruin has himself a train ticket to Vancouver,
where he'll assemble his own crew and head for the North Pole.
To claim it for bloody Sweden. He's been the traitor all along.
George.
Sir, it's Mr. Fruin now.
Oh, Mr. Fruin! Stop! Drive! Drive! Go! Stop!
Sweden, Rangeliva Sverige.
Get in, you fool! Long live Sweden!
Sir, should we give chase?
Oh, I don't think so, George. We have the man we want. We're not going to be getting anywhere near the North Pole without this.
Long live Sweden.
Mr. Fruin, you're under arrest for the murder of Arthur Pimblett. And for treason. Long live Canada.
I suppose you'll be heading back home now that Captain Bernier's been reinstated?
Yes, I miss family. Thank you for Toronto, Crabtree.
You certainly made the most of it. Now, I have something for you. Nunnik of the North in Toronto. This way your family can share in the experience. Mr. Blair said he projected for you.
Thank you, Crabtree.
Nunnik means kiss.
No, I just say that. Kunik means kiss.
So what does Nunnik mean?
Another time.
Merci. Thank you all for your generous support.
Captain, I see the fundraising campaign is a success. Would you like to join my expedition?
Oh, well, I'm flattered.
No, not you, Inspector. You, Detective.
Me?
Yeah. You're a man of science. And by translating Arthur's journal, you proved yourself a worthy replacement.
If you need a real seaman, you take me, not Murdoch.
That may be, Inspector. But there can be only one captain. And you, my friend, you're a captain as well.
Captain of Station House number 4.
Well,
Captain? You know, Captain Bernier asked me to join him on his expedition.
Did he now?
But I told him I could not accept on account of being a father.
And how long would the expedition take?
4 years, give or take a year.
But if not for being a father, you would go, leaving me here for 4 years.
You would wait for me, Julia.
Don't be so sure. Speaking of being a father, where is our child?
Right this way. It replicates the motion of bouncing him on one's knee.
Look how happy he is.
Oh, yes. He's our gleeful bouncer.
He's one of those at the morgue.
That's why I've made 3. One for the morgue, one for here, and one for my office. That way Roland can remain occupied while we go about our work.
Never miss a moment.
No.
On an all-new Murdoch, clubbed to death.
You recognize this putter?
Golf is a curse, Murdoch. Don't you forget it.
Cracking the case.
New information has come to light.
Will take a stroke of genius.
I've had an idea.
Murdoch Mysteries, next Monday at 8 on CBC. On the next Jekyll and Hyde.
All my life, I've been prone to outbursts, but lately things have been happening that I can't explain. Thought I'd uncover some secrets here about my past, who I am.
You step through there, there may be no going back.
Jekyll and Hyde, next on CBC.
We need all hands on deck.